The movie starts with a man biking through the forest. His name is Vic. A very tired Vic finally arrives home where his wife Melinda is sitting staring at him. He wonders what's the problem. She responds, "Nothing," and goes back upstairs. The couple has a little daughter named Trixie. Chelsea, the babysitter, then arrives. Vic and Melinda are going out. They arrive at a party. There they have a chit-chat with others. Vic keeps staring at Melinda as she says hi to a friend of hers, Joel. She takes him outside and Vic follows her very closely. Melinda and Joel start dancing by the pool. And as you guessed it, Vic is after them. When he finally looks outside, he sees Melinda kissing Joel. She notices him and he gets away from the window. Mary, another attendee at the party, she asks him if it's Melinda dancing with Joe outside. The poor Vic says, yes. Melinda finally comes inside and wonders why is Vic not dancing. Mary still feels it's a little strange. But Vic says they are just friends no more. Mary really doubt it and believe they may be sleeping together. Mary is looking out for him, and don't want him here looking foolish. A little later Joel comes to say hi to Vic. Vic obviously doesn't want to talk to him. Joel doesn't want Vic to get jealous. Vic then tells him if he remembers Martin. Joel remembers because it's the guy that went missing. Vic adds that guy have also been seeing his wife a lot. Joel gets scared and wonders what does that mean. While Vic is washing his hands and staring at Joel. Joel wonders if Vic is trying to send a message, but Vic straight up tells him he killed Martin. But Melinda doesn't know about it. Joel is horrified he did that to a friend of his wife. Joel doesn't believe him, but Vic doesn't care and leaves the poor man who is literally peeing his pants. Joel is leaving and Melinda wonders what's going on. He can't explain and give a last look at Vic, then runs away. After the party, Melinda is convinced Vic said something to Joel. But he denies it. As you can imagine, the car ride back home was a little awkward, just silence. The couple then head upstairs and Vic tells her she should choose friends with more brain. She responds that Joel may be dumb but he makes her enjoy who she is. Hearing those words, the poor Vic feels bad. He then leaves his wife to go light up his passion, a little laboratory in his garage with many species living there. He is so happy there. The next morning, the whole family is having breakfast. They all jump in the car while enjoy some music. Vic drops her at school. On his way out he meets Kristen, who heard about the story he told Joel. She hopes it's a joke. She adds that the rumor spread out very fast. And it did. As Vic grabs some food with his friends Jonas and Grant, they bring that up. They believe he threatened Joel because he thinks he sleeps with his wife. Again Vic says he hasn't threatened anybody. Grant adds that the fact that his wife is comfortable going to other men like that is messed up. The rumor got to Melinda and she confronts him about saying that to Joel. She is sad because Martin was her friend and she misses him. Melinda wants him to apologize to Joel. She already invited him for dinner on Saturday. Saturday arrives and Joel shows up. Vic greets him. Joel then announces that he is leaving tomorrow. He has a new job in Mexico. Minutes later, Melinda joins and the three have lunch. Trixie in the corner is looking at Joel with anger. During weird lunch, Vic keeps watching every movements of Melinda towards Joel. Melinda then expresses how weird she thinks Vic is for not drinking at all. For her, normal people let go sometimes. She wishes he was normal. He responds that if he was normal, Joel wouldn't be having dinner with us now. Poor Joel is so uncomfortable. He then excuses himself to the restroom. Melinda sends Trixie to bed and tells her Vic will read her a bunch of bed stories. We then jump to moments later with Vic reading the bedtime story. Trixie wonders why is mom going out with other people. Vic tells her that's who she is. Trixie then expresses how she doesn't like Joel. Time to go to bed. Vic leaves his daughter and hears weird sounds in the room where Melinda and Joel are. He goes to check and see them playing around. He makes a noise in the kitchen and she comes to him, telling him he doesn't have to do the dishes, he should go to sleep. But Vic responds that he is wide awake. She then leaves Vic and Joel alone for a bit. Joel understands why Vic is acting like that. Joel then asks him if he wants to apologize to him. Vic wonders why would he do that. He then reaffirms that he killed Martin with a hammer. Vic then orders an Uber for Joel. Joel is so scared and leaves. Couple of days later, the couple is at a neighborhood party. Dawn. a screenwriter, is sharing how he sold his last script to Hollywood. He then stops when he realizes Vic's name and says, "You are the one who killed Martin." Everyone around let Don know it was a joke. The next day, the couple is looking at Trixie playing soccer. Someone then calls Vic. It's the banker calling about Melinda's account. He notifies that there is insufficient funds to cover the check she sent to a man named Charles. The memo said, "Piano lessons." Vic then asks Charles' last name. Later Vic bikes to his office, in which he has a bunch of weird photos. He calls every place in town to look for one where Charles is playing. He found where he is playing tonight and head to see him, and is shocked to see Melinda there too. Vic then drives back home angry. Once at home, he watches TV where it's announced the body of Martin has just been found in the woods. Hours later Melinda comes back. Vic asks her where was she. She says she was with a friend grabbing dinner. Vic then announces to her that they found Martin, he is dead. She is sad as it was her friend. Melinda is still in a bad mood. Vic asks her why hasn't she come home last night. She doesn't want to say a thing. He confronts her about Charles, but she is still silent. She finds him jealous, and he wants her to stop acting like a child. Melinda asks if he wants to know if she is making love to Charles. The angry Vic tells her to stop seeing him, they have a family. She responds, "Or what?" Then goes upstairs. Days later the couple throws a party at their house and Charles shows up. As soon as Vic sees him his face changes. He even plays piano for all the guests, which annoys the hell out of Vic. After the play, Melinda introduces Charlie to Vic. Vic gives him a firm handshake and steps out. Hours later, Vic is trying to find Melinda, who is nowhere to be found. He slowly goes upstairs expecting the worst. He then witnesses Melinda and Charles stepping out of a room. Vic goes to sit by the pool while looking at them playing. They get so close as Vic watches with anger. It starts raining and everyone leaves the pool except for Vic and Charles. Dawn, a friend, notices them by the pool and leave, and Vic slowly goes towards Charles with such massive anger. Minutes later, Vic comes back inside and Dawn looks at him in a weird way. The camera then shows the body of Charles floating in the pool. Melinda is looking for Charles. She then sees his body outside and everyone jumps to help him. They try to save him but it's too late. The police then questions everyone. Melinda then tells them that Vic killed him. Everyone can't believe she said that. While the guests are trying to calm her down, the police is paying close attention. Dawn is silently looking at Vic. The police then takes Melinda to speak to her separately. Dawn asks to speak to them privately as well. The next day, while biking, Vic gets the flashback of how he killed Charles. He then realizes a car is following him. He goes to drop Trixie at school, and there he meets Kristen, Dawn's wife. She is not okay with what her husband is doing. She reveals he is talking behind his back of those theories of Vic killing Martin and Charles. He then invites Dawn and Kristen for dinner. After dinner, he invites Dawn to talk and tells him to stop telling people he killed Charles. Dawn then asks what does Vic thinks killed Charles then. He doesn't know and Dawn is convinced Vic drowned him. A day later Vic recognizes a car he has seen around and sees a camera inside. He then catches Melinda having lunch with a new guy. He of course forces himself to join them at the table. The atmosphere is very tense and awkward. Vic then bursts into Dawn's house while they have lunch and sit at their table as well. He asks if Dawn knows David. He came to the conclusion that David is a private investigator Dawn hired. He also found out he split the bill with Melinda, who also hired him. Kristen screams to Dawn that he lost his mind. Days later, Vic follows Melinda, who's seeing a new man, Tony. Trixie asks questions about Charlie's incident. She is convinced that Vic killed him. He tries to deny it. She wants to know how he did it, so he tells her to keep it a secret. He then hears his wife on the phone with Tony talking about going to Brazil. Vic gets super tight. Tony is then invited to the house by Melinda. He introduces himself to Vic. Melinda finally comes to welcome Tony. She then let Vic know that Tony is the first guy she slept with. Tony is embarrassed to hear that. Vic then makes a very dark reference about the human body which terrifies Tony. But minutes later they all have fun in front of the poor Vic, who has to go though this. And then brings him upstairs while Vic is carefully following them. Days later, Tony comes out of a coffee shop and Vic surprises him. He tells him that Melinda wants to show him something and invites Tony to jump in. Tony gets in the car. On the ride, he asks about their relationship when they were young. Vic drives him in the forest at a crazy speed, which makes Tony uncomfortable. They finally arrive at destination. Tony wonders where is Melinda, and at this moment, Vic grabs, then throws a rock at Tony. Tony falls down dead. Vic checks his pulse to make sure he is dead, then drags the body and dump it into the water. He then goes back home with a sense of peace. Melinda is playing with Trixie. Vic tells Melinda he actually likes Tony. He then pours some wine to Trixie and tells Melinda he is celebrating life. Melinda asks if he saw Tony. He denies. She then decides to bring the entire family to a picnic. Vic looks at the water and realizes the body of Tony resurfaced. He is annoyed. On the way home, Melinda realizes she forgot her scarf there. Vic tells her he will go back tomorrow morning. Vic later asks Melinda who was she talking on the phone with. He asks if it was Tony. She tells him she is done with Tony and comes to give him a big hug. For the first time, she asks Vic to sleep in the same bed as her. The couple is finally coming together and the bond becomes stronger. The next day, Vic is biking as usual. Melinda searches for him in the house and goes to his little laboratory. There she makes a horrifying discovery: Tony's wallet. Vic took that wallet before dumping the body. Melinda is horrified. She has tears coming down. Meanwhile, Vic goes back to the river where Tony's body is still floating. He tries to put it back in the water. At this moment, someone approaches and is observing him from a distance. It's Don. He wants to know what is he doing. He says Melinda forgot her scarf. Don comes closer, wondering what is he doing in the river. Tony's body then resurfaces. Don sees it and starts running away. Vic runs after him, but Don is able to get in the car and screams to him, "You are going to jail." Vic doesn't give up and follows Don's car with his bike. Meanwhile, Melinda is packing her stuff while in tears. Vic is trying to use a shortcut. Don is so happy because he was right. He tries to call his wife to tell her. Trixie sees Melinda's suitcase and push it in the pool. She doesn't want Melinda to leave. Using the shortcut, Vic is able to catch him up. He falls in front of Don, who avoids him, making his car fall in the river. Vic then peaceful bikes home. He arrives and Melinda is sitting there. He asks her what's going on. She responds, "Nothing." She says she saw Tony. The movie then ends with Tony's wallet being burned by Melinda. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other movie summaries we have on our channel.